Senorita Harris made her debut and served up some spicy word salad. California is spending millions of taxpayer dollars to get stones sculpted in Italy. And New York City educrats stiffed homeless students on a trip to Disney in favor of their own kids. It's time for my Losers of the Week. We're less than 2 months from Election Day, and we still don't know much about Kamala Harris other than her affinity for Venn diagrams, school buses, and salads of the word variety. But she has another talent she's recently put on display: accent work. She's only been the candidate for a few months, but in that short amount of time, we've heard her Southern accent, her Black accent, and now, folks, a new one. Meet Senorita Harris.
I love you back.
Just in time for Latinx Heritage Month, how fun. But when she reverted back to her original voice, things didn't get much better. I told you this lady was the Aristotle of our time, and boy, I meant it.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
Insightful. Some say Kamala isn't too smart, but I disagree because it takes real brain power to use so many words and say nothing at all. It's downright magical, in fact. But speaking of magic, when it comes to making taxpayer dollars disappear into thin air, California Democrats are unmatched. But this one is wild even for them. The California legislature, made up of a supermajority of Democrats, of course, was hoping its constituents wouldn't notice its leaders spent $5.2 million taxpayer dollars to have granite shipped to Italy to be fabricated into bricks and then sent back to California to be used on part of the exterior of the new Capitol Annex building. This fancy Italian stonework is just part of the $1.2 billion Capitol Annex project, which will one day house new offices for state lawmakers, the governor, and the lieutenant governor. You know, one might call this a vanity project, but it's even more egregious when you consider the fact that this stone had to be shipped by boat to Italy to be fabricated to the liking of project officials. Not cheap. It's even more sickeningly ironic when you consider that that state has a ballooning homeless population. Thousands of Californians have no roof, and meanwhile, state leaders are sending granite to Italy and back for a Capitol Annex beauty project. If you're wondering how the fifth largest economy in the entire world could run a huge budget deficit, well, look no further than state priorities. On the topic of priorities and waste and Democrats, my third loser of this week, well, it's something else. Check this out. 6 Department of Education employees out of New York were busted allegedly taking their own kids and grandkids to Disney World and other city-funded trips meant for homeless students. Yes, a newly released report by the Special Commissioner of Investigation for City Schools found that between 2016 and 2019, these educrats took their own family members on multi-day trips and excursions to Magic Kingdom, Washington, D.C., New Orleans, Boston, upstate Rocking Horse Ranch Resort, and Frost Valley YMCA Campground, robbing disadvantaged and homeless students of these perks designated for them. And even worse, the report claims Linda M. Wilson, a Queens supervisor of the DOE's Students in Temporary Housing, took her own 2 daughters on trips and encouraged colleagues to take their sons, daughters, and grandkids, but tried to cover up the shady practice when SCI started asking questions. She allegedly coached coworkers to stick to the same story and keep it between them. Homeless students were also in attendance on these trips, but valuable spots were replaced with family members of staffers. Apparently, one DOE educator had to beg Wilson to allow him to add 2 of his disadvantaged students on a trip to Disney World, while Wilson and several staffers she supervised brought their own family members, the report said. What kind of a sick individual robs homeless kids of opportunities? I am just speechless. Must be a New York thing, I guess. Joining me now with his take on my losers and more is radio host and author Sid Rosenberg. All right, Sid, this is a New York City thing. You got to tell me, is this kind of a normal practice for New York? You know, stiff the homeless kids and just bring your family members instead?
But the answer is really one word, Tom. You ready for this? Yes. That's us. I mean, look, we've got illegals all over the streets. And you and I talked about this on Kill Meat Show last week. And Eric Adams, the mayor, does nothing about it. Nothing about it. We've got veterans sleeping in the streets. President Trump talked about this last night. I was in attendance at the Nassau Coliseum. We've got homeless sleeping in the streets, but the illegals get five-star hotels. So why would I be surprised if the kids are going away on trips and the homeless kids don't have the opportunity? Look, I work with a guy named Curtis Sliwa, and he's nicknamed the DOE, the dumbest organization ever. I've amended that, Tommy, to the most dangerous organization ever. You've got the school chancellor here in New York, this guy, David Banks, who, by the way, is being looked at by the FBI like everybody else under Eric Adams. And he has no issue teaching our kids jihad in schools in New York. So this doesn't surprise me. We are the corrupt capital of the world. I mean, California kind of neck and neck, but we're right there. And this is just another ugly story for a city that used to be great, that has now become the laughingstock of the world.
What's crazy to me is, same in the case of California, when you have one party, and particularly the Democrat Party that runs the show, then this kind of corruption gets buried and it goes on for years and years and years, because when you're all of the same party and you're running the city, you're running the town, you're running the state, you can pretty much do whatever you want because your friends aren't going to investigate you. At some point you tick off the wrong people and they start to investigate you, but that's after so much money and time and resources have already been wasted. That's the case pretty much in every solidly blue city in America, I would say. But, you brought up that Trump rally last night, and it's incredible when you see those kind of crowds in a place like New York. I don't have any kind of mystical thinking that Donald Trump's going to win the state of New York. But when you look at the crowds there, and you were there, what do you think? You think possibly, maybe he could do well in that state?
You just nailed it. You said it perfectly. You're very good. Possibly. Maybe. Let's not get nuts. A Republican hasn't won this state, Tommy, since 1984. You got to go back to Ronald Reagan, the last time a Republican won New York. So the odds are not in Trump's favor. But I was there last night. Sat right next to Bruce Blakeman, Nassau County executive, front row, and all the congressmen here in New York. And it was wild. Look, I'm a big sports guy. Before I did politics, I did sports, Tommy. Craig Minervini, friend of both of us. So I've been to these arenas for NBA championships and Stanley Cup finals, and they rock, right? They're rocking. This place last night was the wildest scene I've ever seen. 18,000 large, all decked out in red, white, and blue, screaming, "Let's go Trump, we want Trump, USA, USA." I have never been inside an arena that was louder than when they started the Lee Greenwood song last night and President Trump hit the stage. Now look, 18,000 people on Long Island doesn't mean you win the state. The truth is that is a very red, purple red area here in New York. We've done very well, the Republicans on Long Island. That doesn't represent the whole state. But I do see a change even in the city. I live in Queens, and I think we've got a shot. And I'll take that 8 days a week.
It's incredible to me because if you talk to New Yorkers, even the most liberal ones, they're not happy about the illegal immigrants everywhere. They're not happy about the squatters. They're not happy about the way city funds are being wasted, especially on these migrants, as they call them. But they're still going to vote Democrat, a lot of them. And it's wild to me, that kind of thinking. But it just must be, if you're so used to voting for one party, you're going to keep doing it. I do want to play a clip from last night that I thought was particularly entertaining. Donald Trump trying to get out the vote. Let's take a listen.
But patriotic New Yorkers must get your asses out to vote. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Harry, get up, Harry. Harry, get your fat ass out of the couch. You're gonna vote for Trump today, Harry. Get up, Harry. Come on, let's go. Let's go, Harry.
So, of course, Donald Trump is going to be Donald Trump. A lot of his supporters obviously love it when he talks like that. But, what he's talking about is a very serious thing. People need to get out and vote. People are already voting in some states because we have really election season instead of election day now. But how important do you think it is that those people that go to his rallies, that wear the Trump gear, do you think they're actually going to get out and vote? Because if all of the people that proclaim to support Donald Trump actually voted for Donald Trump, we wouldn't have this discrepancy and we wouldn't have to wait until January to get a result.
You believe that the election was rigged and they cheated, then they did vote for Trump. That's up to you. Look, they're going to vote for Trump. These people are pissed. And they were so enthusiastic last night and so ready to go vote. They would have got the vote, Tommy, last night. They couldn't wait. But I tell you, the thing about Trump, what makes him so beautiful, and I coined this before Corey Lewandowski did. I said it to President Trump on my own show less than a month ago. Stop worrying about being nice. Just be Trump. Let Trump be Trump. He's so funny, Tommy. Listen to that. Harry, get up and you're not going to get that from Harris. You know, I wish during the debate when Harris made that ridiculous comment, and it worked because she got under my guy's skin. It did work when she said, people leave your rallies early. I was there last night. 18,000. Nobody left early. If I'm Trump, I would have said back then, at least they come to my rallies. Nobody goes to your rallies. And we saw that last night. They're enthusiastic. They would have voted last night. We are going to vote. We're going to swamp the vote, in fact, which Trump keeps talking about, him and Laura Trump. We're going to swamp the vote and make sure he wins again come November the 5th.
Boy, I hope you're right. And it's very true. We do need to swamp the vote. We need to make sure that people are getting out to vote. If they have to vote early, I would prefer people vote on election day or vote early and not vote mail-in ballot style. I just don't like it. I understand a lot of people do. It makes it ultra convenient, but I'm just of the opinion that once you let go of custody of your ballot, I don't like it being in anybody else's hands. I would rather people just follow their ballot up until, it goes in. I think that that's a better method, but honestly, just get people voting. I think that's what needs to happen. There's another side of Trump beyond just the funny side of Trump that I think people need to see more of, and that's his compassionate side. Those that know him know his compassionate side, but I thought that this moment was particularly heartwarming, and I want to see more of it. Let's look at Donald Trump and his gift to little Liam.
I'm supposed to be in that stage, but that doesn't matter. Because I got you the best president you'll ever have. This is the best president you'll ever have. How are you, Bob? Hi, Mom. Okay, honey, this is yours. And in there is real good stuff. Okay? So beautiful. Thank you. See, look at that. Look at these great photographers. And we're going to have that picture of our life, okay? You and I.
Sid, this is who Donald Trump is, and I want to see more of it.
Sat right behind me last night. It was so beautiful. Trump also talked to him during the rally. And that is who he is. You know him, Tommy. He loves you. I know him. He loves me. I had two filmmakers in my studio today, and they made the movie for my friend Scott Lebedo. It's called The Relentless Patriot, and you have to see it. It's great. It's not streaming now, but it'll be streaming. I saw it at Mar-a-Lago last year. Well, these same two guys, have a brand new documentary coming out. I'm going back to Mar-a-Lago next month to see it, and it's called The Man You Don't Know. And it's about Trump. And it's exactly what you're talking about, Tommy. The media has vilified this guy so much, you almost think he's a horrible person. When the truth is, he's anything but. He's a terrific guy. He's charitable. He's friendly. He's funny. He'll call and check on you. That's the real Donald Trump. Look at his children, his family. They're all wonderful kids. There's no Hunter Biden in the Donald Trump family, even down to Kai, his granddaughter, who was so brilliant speaking in Milwaukee during the RNC. So you're right. He's a wonderful guy. He really is. He's been treated unfairly since the moment he got in ready for this? The elevator. Forget about the escalator, the elevator. But because you know him and I know him, we know the truth. It's just unfortunate that the media, which is, they overwhelm us, obviously, they lie about the guy every day. Donald Trump is a good, compassionate man, Tommy, to your point.
He is, and he really does care about people, and that also can be seen when he's talking to angel families, when he's talking to Gold Star families. It's just on display, and you can't make that stuff up. You can't fake it. We know somebody who fakes a lot of things, and that's obviously Kamala Harris. But I want to play...
Not to stop you, but look at the illegal issue, just to emphasize your point, Tommy, okay? Who was the one who called Laken Riley's family first? Laken, not Lincoln. He's a football coach. Now, let me say this. I live in New York. I was here when Biden met Obama and Clinton, three horrible people, met them at Cipriani's. And what did Trump do that day? Trump flew here to sit next to Stephanie Diller, whose husband, Jonathan, police officer, was murdered at 31 years old, leaving his 1-year-old son, Ryan, without a father. That is Donald Trump. Madeline Brown spoke last night. Her son was murdered. She was fantastic before Trump even took the stage. Those are the types of people Trump puts out there because, to your point, he cares.
He does. And he cares about sometimes the forgotten American. That's why he won in 2016. I hope that's what will propel him to victory in 24. But on the other side of the ticket, you know, the media is doing the most to try to make Kamala seem appealing. And I think maybe the best way to make Kamala seem appealing is to not cover her at all. And that's why she's, you know, dodging interviews as Donald Trump is dodging bullets. But when we talk about the way that the media talks about her and her surrogates talk about her, this might be the most wild one ever in trying to explain why Kamala would be an effective commander-in-chief. One of her surrogates was talking about something else she brings to the table, and that's something I've never heard before, but I want to take a listen and get your take.
But Kamala Harris would be just the opposite. Why? Because she's an inspiration. Not only is she positive and does she bring hope and optimism, but as a black woman, the product of a mixed marriage, she will inspire millions of people throughout the world. Our credibility as a nation, you know, that we would be able to allow, our country is so great that we're allowed a woman like that to become the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. That is going to send a powerful message all over the world. People like Vladimir Putin are going to say, hey, wait a minute. These guys, you know, they truly have a democratic country. They truly are representative. They truly are fighting for all their people. And Kamala Harris is a manifestation of that.
She is a manifestation. She's a product of an interracial marriage, so Putin is shaking in his boots. What do you think?
He's a moron. Who is that guy? Well, he's on MSNBC. Of course, he's a moron. He's not on your show. You get the smart people on your show like me. Look, my wife, Danielle, biracial. I actually am married to a biracial woman. She's a lot smarter than Kamala Harris, I can promise you that. And it doesn't mean anything. She's a brilliant lawyer because she's a brilliant lawyer, not because she's half black or half white. You know, look, you played it, you know, she does this Latino accent. Then she, in front of a black audience, will really pour on the black accent. She may be, in all seriousness, the least authentic, least original candidate in the history of the presidency. Now, I know people got mad at our friend Trump because he called her stupid. I got to tell you, I'm not sure she's not stupid. I have no idea. Maybe she is. She never talks. And when she talks, you know, like he played earlier, a community girl is a community girl. She sounds kind of stupid. So, you know, the idea that she's a better person or that people appreciate her or fear her because she's married to a white crappy Jew, that's what I called him with Donald Trump on the phone last month. I got a lot of press, means nothing to me. She's really embarrassing. I don't know what else to say. Look, no one's voting for Kamala Harris. Nobody voted for Joe Biden. You either vote for or against Donald Trump. That's it. You either vote for him because Tomi Lahren and Sid Rosenberg are smart and they love him, or you hate him, so you vote for whatever stiff they're running at the time. Happens to be Harris, before it was Biden. But this election, like the last three, all about one person, President Donald Trump.
And to the point about national security, I don't know if anybody in the world cares what race Kamala is or who she's married to or who her parents married. I don't think that matters. But I'll tell you what I do think is really interesting. We know we're getting reports, obviously, about the pagers exploding at the Hezbollah terrorists. We don't know definitively if Israel is behind it. Good indication that Israel is behind it. But you've got AOC, and again, another New Yorker, saying that this needs to be investigated because there were civilians around, and how dare anybody explode the pagers and the cell phone of terrorists? I mean, what do you make of that?
In right now, Tommy, that's the American flag and the Israeli flag. And I went to Israel 2 months after 9/11. I'm Jewish, obviously. 9/11, excuse me. Wow. It was their version of 9/11, October the 7th. And I'm going back October the 5th. I'm going back in 2 weeks, and I'm doing my show on October the 7th, 1 year to the day, from an army base right outside of Gaza. I'll be walking distance, Tommy, to the kibbutzim, where they threw our babies into ovens, raped and murdered our little girls and our parents, did all those atrocities. I'll be less than a mile away on October the 7th. I become a fearless big voice for Israel. You know, guys like me, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, those are the guys that people go to for comfort, who care about the Jewish people, Jews and non-Jews, Christians too, but who care about Israel. And look, this is war, okay? It was a Saturday morning, Tommy. It was Shabbos. It was a holiday. The Israelis weren't bothering anybody. You had a bunch of kids at a music concert that could have easily been Woodstock, 1969. We weren't bothering anybody. And these animals came in and did what they did in a bunch of different locations, murdering nearly 1,200 people. And the way they did it, the rape, the torture, just so grotesque, so disgusting. So what do you want? You want us to just sit here and like bat back? That's not what Israel's all about. You know, if you look at the map of the Middle East, Tommy, you have all these countries, and there's like a little speck the size of New Jersey. And somehow we've been able to survive and thrive all these years because we do fight back. And for all the criticism that's leveled at my guy, Bibi, I love Bibi. I love him. That is nonsense. Stop the bring them home chant, for example. Doesn't make any sense. What do you mean bring them home? He doesn't have them. The chant should be let them go. Hamas has the hostages, not Bibi. What do you mean bring them home? Let them go. So look, the Israelis are way ahead of everybody else, including us, when it comes to weaponry, intelligence, and all these issues in a war. And now we've proven whether you're Hezbollah, whether you're Hamas, whether you're Russia, we don't got to be anywhere near you, and we can kill you, and we will. So excuse me for showing little sympathy, but they surprised us. They murdered, tortured, raped, and killed my people. The rest, casualties of war. Sorry.
It's so wild to me when you have sitting members of the United States Congress that are actively, forcefully, and proudly defending the interests of terrorists. I mean, self-proclaimed terrorists. These people, they make no mistake what they're about and what they want to do. And then you've got these members of Congress that are sitting there like, oh, how dare you blow up terrorists? It's wild to me. I can't believe we elect these people into office, but I can't believe half the people we elect into office. I want to get your take as a radio host about something that Howard Stern said, which honestly, he's a fading character at this point. I think we can be honest about that. I don't think that anybody really cares that much or puts that much stake into what Howard Stern says anymore. I think that the caller daddy getting that huge deal, I think that also shows that maybe Howard Stern is on his way out. He's not necessarily the shock jock that he once was, that people appreciated. But he said, and I quote, "I hate the people who vote for Trump. I think they're stupid. I do. I'll be honest with you. I have no respect for you." What's your take on that?
I think he's stupid. Listen, I'm a huge, was a huge Howard Stern fan. Now look, Tommy, let's be honest. He's not dead yet. You and I are talking about it. It was in the New York Post. Other shows are talking about it. I know he's on Sirius XM. It's not K-Rock in New York City. He's still collecting about $500 million. He's not dead yet. When Howard says something newsworthy, we're still talking about it. But the truth is, he's the stupid one. This guy sat in his basement for 3 years during COVID, even though we all know we were safe and fine. His interview with Joe Biden earlier last year was the most pathetic interview I've never seen a worse interview than what Howard Stern did with Joe Biden. And look, we know this. He's disloyal. You know how I know that? Because as a guy that used to listen to Howard, I've been on Howard's show, Tommy, 4 times. I hosted many years ago a television show on Howard TV, one of the all-time greats, Whack Pack Bowling. But I worked for his arch nemesis. On and off for 18 years, I worked with Don Imus. And those two guys hated each other. And I was kind of a pawn in between. In the end, they both stabbed Donald Trump in the back. Imus, who was a friend of Trump's, Trump was nice to him. Imus stabbed him in the back. Same thing with Stern. On more than one occasion, Tommy, he has said on his radio show, the best guest I ever had was Donald Trump. Heck, when Donald was just dating Melania, they weren't even married. He put Melania on the phone, and Howard did his whole shtick. You know, let me see you naked, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Trump, you're so lucky you get to bang this chick. All that nonsense. Okay, look, at the end of the day, he's disloyal. He doesn't care. He takes his cues from George Stephanopoulos and Joe Scarborough. And when you do that, you're going to be in big trouble. So I would say this, F you, Howard Stern.
Yeah, I just think, at least from my generation, they don't really care about what Howard Stern says. I think it's stupid to offend your audience anyway. If you're not a conservative or a liberal host doing conservative and liberal talk, when you tell people that you think they're stupid and you've never met them and you're just telling a group of people who are your listeners that they're stupid, that's a stupid business move. Maybe he doesn't care. But you mentioned other people who are quite stupid, and I think that there's a table of them that also congregates in New York City that might be as dumb as it gets, and that's the ladies of The View. Now, going back to the mixed race and betraying your own race, biracial stuff, we've got Sunny Hostin, one of the idiots over there, saying that Brittany Mahomes, for liking a post by Donald Trump, is selling out her entire family. Let's take a listen to this one.
It just seems to me that since she is in an interracial marriage, she should have known that to support a racist is problematic. Her children are biracial. Maybe she's just not that politically savvy, or maybe she's just not read in.
Granted,
but it's
all we know is that
it didn't bother you that he was being a racist and being a misogynist and being all that didn't get you going.
Oh, God. All right. What's your thoughts on that? I can't believe people watch that show, by the way. And you've got to get dumber by watching that show.
Howard Stern wants to call people stupid. It's the viewers of The View, and less people are watching that show. And at the risk of sounding really exaggerative, I'm going to say this. Those are the worst people God has ever created. Whoopi Goldberg, especially Joy Behar. She is really garbage. And Sunny Hostin. And again, my wife is biracial. She's not voting for Kamala Harris, folks. I'm sorry. And Brittany Mahomes, what a beautiful lady. What has she done wrong? She's like you. She's beautiful. She's blonde. She's married to maybe the best quarterback in the history of the game. He's that good, Kansas City Chief quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. So she doesn't agree with Taylor Swift. You talk about this generation. My own daughter, who I love desperately, who's a hero, my daughter Ava, she loves Taylor Swift. I can't stand Taylor Swift. So Brittany Mahomes stood up and said, hey, I'm an American. I want to vote for him. That doesn't mean she's a bad person. Again, the biracial stuff means nothing but pound for pound. And I mean this. You could talk about prisoners, people in jail, pound for pound. You'll be hard-pressed to find worse people than those witches on The View. Witches they are.
The thought that somebody is betraying their race or betraying their gender because they're voting for somebody, and the fact that Sunny would put forth that maybe she's just not politically savvy enough, as if Sunny is politically savvy enough, and that voting for Kamala makes her such a bright bulb. It's just wild to me the way that these people speak and what they talk about every day. It's also important to note that yesterday, the ladies of The View, when talking about the Diddy case, they were laughing about lube. We're talking about people that have allegedly been exploited and trafficked, and they're laughing about lube. I mean, that just shows you how lowbrow and, quite frankly, disgusting they are. And that's the last thing I do want to ask you about is this Diddy stuff, because it also went down in New York City. What are your quick thoughts on that? And do you think he's actually going to remain behind bars? He's doing everything he can to get out.
Here's the problem, Tom. When you make a lot of money, you believe that there's nothing you can't overcome. And oftentimes that's true, right? If O.J. Simpson, for example, didn't have a lot of money and couldn't put together that great team of Johnny Cochran and that whole group, he would have gone to jail the first time, not later for the merchandising thing in Vegas, because he was clearly guilty. And of course, the prosecution, Marsha Clark and Chris Darden, should have spent more time looking over the facts and in a hotel room together late at night, if you know what I'm talking about. But sometimes money can't get it done. P. Diddy has enough money to live 10 lifetimes, but I don't think he's going to see the light of day. I've heard the comparisons to Jeffrey Epstein. I've heard the comparisons to R. Kelly. And what I've heard talking to pretty big time attorneys here. I'm very, very close with guys like Joseph Tacopina, Arthur Aidala, Alan Dershowitz. What I hear is that what he did was worse because he's violent on top of it. I mean, you saw, Tommy, the video of his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, him beating her up it was really tough to watch. So you're talking about a guy that was doing the Epstein stuff, hiring these girls in what he called freak-offs, allegedly, where for days and days you'd have these girls high on drugs, doing all these crazy sex acts with all these guys. And then if they didn't do it right, allegedly, he beat them up. So he's got that going. He's got the racketeering charges. I think it's fair to assume at this point, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. And I don't think he'll ever see the light of day. He has now been denied, what, twice? A bail, trying to get out. He's got a pretty good attorney. I know the guy. But I think P. Diddy is guilty with a big time G. And he's going to spend the rest of his life where he belongs, away from women like you, quite frankly, behind bars.
Men and women, not just women, not
You're
just
right.
women. And,
You're right.
And that's
You're
the
right.
thing, too. I think I also find it really rich when they want to get out of jail, when they say, no, we're holding you here. And they're like, no, but I promise I won't see women. I won't do this. It's like, your money ain't going to cut it here. At least I would hope. You never know. It's amazing, too, what the long arm of the law does to people like Donald Trump for really committing no crime at all. They have to concoct one. And then if this guy skates out, that would be, to me, just such a miscarriage of justice. But we'll wait and see. A lot of stuff going down in New York City. You guys certainly have us beat when it comes to excitement. Thank you so much for taking the time. I look forward to joining your radio show and seeing you also on other Fox shows. Thank you for taking the time, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Huge fan of yours. Like, I mean this. I'm a huge fan of yours. I was so honored to share the stage with you on Brian Kilmeade's show last week. I'm doubly honored to be on your program today. This means a lot to me. So thank you very much. I can't wait to do my show in New York City. And here's to many, many more segments together. You're great.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to it. We're going to have you back very soon. God bless you, and be safe in New York City.
God bless you too, Tommy. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Sid. All right, folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I will catch you right back here at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow with a very special interview with the one and only Tulsi Gabbard. You don't want to miss that. Also, catch full episodes of this show on Fox Nation whenever you want. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.